You tried to muddy the water by suggesting this video was from October 9th. This is fake. The Music Fest attack happened at daytime. This is night vision. It isn't night vision, it's heat vision. There's literally shadows on the film Bozo. She replaces the key part of the quote with ... It's disgusting. Does she do that? Who is a soldier or civilian? ... The rate of fire against the suspects was tremendous at first, only after. Oh, yeah. Jesus Christ. Wait, it says, this doesn't say the video is from October 9th. Can this fucking moron even read? This says her original tweet is at, and there's no community note on it at all. 139,000 likes. Is that really his takeaway from our conversation? He just thought I was mad because he said Rittenhouse killed people? Who denies that? Obviously he killed people. Why would he summarize our conversation that way? What?
He was mad that I was critical of calling Kyle Rittenhouse a killer, even though Kyle Rittenhouse is a killer. That is not a controversial statement. When you kill somebody, you're a killer. Now, I didn't say that he murdered anybody.
The Rittenhouse shooting. Murder.
About the Syrian girl, did you see our Destiny post about her misquoting the IDF? Oh, shit, I have not. Hold on. Oh, 14-second clip. Nice. Breaking. Israel admits Apache helicopters fired on their own civilians running from the Supernova Music Festival. The pilots realized that there was tremendous difficulty in distinguishing within the occupied outposts and settlements who is a terrorist and who is a soldier or civilian. The rate of fire against the thousands of terrorists was tremendous at first, and only at a certain point did the pilots begin to slow down the attacks and carefully select the targets. 139,000 likes. Over 100,000 retweets. Geo-confirmed ISR PAL investigation. This claim is viewed over 30 million times. Israel admits Apache helicopter fired on their own civilians running from the Supernova Music Festival. Disinformation. I like this more than misinformation. Disinformation implies intentional spreading of misinformation. I think it's a better word sometimes. This whole story is a perfect example of how disinformation works. It got a lot of attention after it was spread by @PartisanGirl, but it has been already published 50 minutes before by Megatron Ron, what we assess as the source for @PartisanGirl. Soon, people like Jackson Hinkle and Cuds Nen took over some of the claims. Partisan Girl and Jackson Hinkle are known as spreaders of disinformation within the fact-checking community. The claim that Apache helicopters fired on their own civilians running from the Supernova Music Festival is wrong based on geolocations. The original video is shared by IDF online on the 9th of October 2023. From 2:06 to 2:20 are the 14 seconds that they republished. Frame 000 to 003 is located at latitude-longitude, just behind the border fence inside Gaza, people running back coming from a breach. Based on this geolocation, it is highly likely that these were Hamas terrorists returning from their October 7th, October 23 raid, thanks to @GeoRaccoon. This frame is located here. Here you see Hamas terrorists going towards the breach. Breach is the start of the road seen above, thanks to Co-op Coop Sure. Third frame is impossible to geolocate, but based on Sentinel, some destroyed cars are on the road, or on the same road. Conclusion 1. The whole video of 14 seconds was from the 7th of October 2023 and shows the IDF Apache attack a Hamas terrorist running through a breach inside Gaza. 2 raided villages are just a few kilometers away, no relation with the festival at all. Similar footage was shared by accounts known for disinformation to build up a bigger basis for the above claims, but every found geolocation of this footage also points to Apache helicopters attacking Hamas terrorists near the border fence. This vehicle driving back to a breach in the Gaza fence gets destroyed by an IDF Apache helicopter. Technical behind the Gaza fence gets destroyed by IDF Apache helicopter. Motorcycle coming from the breach passing 2 other Hamas terrorists when he decides to turn right, resulting in an attack by an IDF Apache helicopter. Hamas fighters returning inside Gaza were intercepted by an Apache. 3 of the 4 above geolocations are from the road at this breach. When Hamas terrorists entered this area, they destroyed a Merkava, and the video ends with a massacre of at least 8 civilians in near Oz. Conclusion 2, every geolocated frame... I don't know why they say Hamas terrorists. I really guess you just say Hamas. It feels like a little bit loaded, but considering these guys are supposed to be like super neutral, right? What is your take on when it would be acceptable to censor pro-terrorist content? I feel like if somebody like Syrian Girl was spreading as much misinfo about 9/11 during the 2001 Americans, or during 2001, Americans would unanimously hold Elon accountable. I'm not really sure. I don't know. You tried to muddy the water by suggesting this video was from October 9th. The thread contained statements from pilots saying we couldn't differentiate between Hamas and Israeli people, and statements from festival goers that said Israeli militants shot at them. You didn't counter that. This is fake. The Music Fest attack happened at daytime. This is night vision. It isn't night vision. It's heat vision. There's literally shadows on the film Bozo. Okay. Every geolocated frame in this video was from the 7th of October 2023 and shows IDF, Apache attacks, and Hamas terrorists near the border fence and wall. No relation with the festival at all. Now, we've proven that this footage is not related to the festival. We also will address the claim that the IDF is shooting its own people. Remember, there's a super common meme that spread. I don't know, because we're on the more pro-Zionist part of the internet right now, where my community is. So I think I've spent time fighting against some of that more than some of these other more insane claims from the left-leaning people. I don't even know if we call them the left, the anti-Israeli people, I'd guess. But right now, one of the big claims that's kind of like burning through the internet is the idea that most of the festival goers were killed by crossfire by the IDF, or the IDF just killing their own people trying to kill Hamas terrorists, basically. We saw a little bit of in that video that Kat linked or whatever, but people are actively trying to kind of get this to take hold on the internet. That article was published on the 15th of October. It stated that they first shot at people crossing the fence, as shown in the videos above, and afterwards they went for other missions, selecting more carefully their targets. After the pilots realized that there was tremendous difficulty in distinguishing within the occupied outposts and settlements who was a terrorist and who was a soldier or civilian, a decision was made that the first task of the combat helicopters and the armed Zeke drones was to stop the flow of terrorists and the murderous mob that poured into Israeli territory through the gaps in the fence. 28 combat helicopters fired over the course of a day, the fighting all the ammunition in their stomachs, in rearming rounds. I'm guessing this is like a bad translation or whatever. These are hundreds of 30mm cannon shells, the effects of a spray grenade for each shell, as well as the Hellfire missiles. The rate of fire against the thousands of terrorists was tremendous at first, and only at a certain point did the pilots begin to slow down the attacks and carefully select the targets. Oh, I see where this is cut from at the end here. Gotcha. Clever. Cute. The Hamas army, it turns out, deliberately made it difficult for the helicopter pilots and the operators of the UAVs, and the investigation became clear that the invading forces were asked in the last briefings to walk slowly into the settlements and outposts or within them, and under no circumstances to run, in order to make the pilots think they were Israelis. This deception worked for a considerable time until the Apache pilots realized that they had to skip all the restrictions. It was only around 9 a.m. that some of them began to spray the terrorists with the cannons on their own without authorization from superiors. Destiny, if you looked into where the name Palestine came from, it was given to the Israeli state when Rome conquered it. Originally, it was Philistines who lived in the area and were wiped out by Israel. Okay. She replaces the key part of the quote with ... It's disgusting. Does she do that? The pilots realized that there was tremendous difficulty in distinguishing within the occupied outposts and settlements who was a terrorist and who was a soldier or civilian. ... The rate of fire against the suspects was tremendous at first, only after... Oh, yeah. Jesus Christ. That's unbelievable, but it's not. I believe it. I mean, obviously, it's totally believable. Holy shit. That article stated how carefully the pilots were, but at one point they decided that that threshold was crossing the fence. There is no indication at all that they were randomly attacking civilians or admit that they did so. Last claim we address is the one with the burned vehicles. At this time, there is no geolocation or witness statements at all backing up the claim that this is caused by Apache helicopters. The footage of the festival doesn't provide any evidence either. Conclusion 4, there's no evidence at all at this point to back up the claim that Apache helicopters were responsible for the destruction of cars near the festival. So the footage and the article were already published before the 15th of October. Why are they spreading now is the main question. And they spread it with parts and sources that address their narrative and make it very hard to check, but they don't provide any proof. The original information from the original sources was neglected, and they made claims about it on their own claims about it. It should be not to us, the reader, to check their information. It should be them who needs to back up their claims. They changed the narrative. This thread in providing geolocations has costed us 15 hours, and that's why it's hard to combat disinformation. They can push their narrative because they know people won't take time to check it, and they make it as hard as possible. No sources, for example. Oh, this is why I've said this before. When I tweet, I always try to tweet Anytime I have like a link, I'm sorry, like a picture of a quote or like a quote, I always try to link the full story afterwards. For this thread, a special thanks to these people. Okay. Wait, is this a response to... Oh, it is. The video is from October 7th. The sources in the thread with multiple eyewitness accounts are all Israeli. You're pathetic for trying to deny it. Just that we understand this right, you show us a print screen of what we claim, debunking your own story that these are people fleeing the festival. Your print screen above literally says the breached border, exactly what we are proving, countering your festival bullshit. The IDF published footage of helicopter gunships striking Hamas terrorists as they streamed across the breached border from Gaza on October 7th. You tried to muddy the water by suggesting the video was from October 9th. The thread contained statements from pilots saying we couldn't differentiate between Hamas and Israeli people, and statements from festival goers that said Israeli militants shot at them. You didn't counter that. Wait, it says, this doesn't say the video is from October 9th. Can this fucking moron even read? This says the original video is shared by IDF Frontline, or IDF Online, on the 9th of October. It says that's when the video was shared. It doesn't say that's when the video was recorded. Can she even read? They never claimed or suggested the video was from October 9th. They clearly stated the video was shared by IDF Online on October 9th, and it was shared by IDF Online on October 9th. Yeah, she just can't read. Jesus Christ. Her original tweet is at, and there's no community note on it at all, 139,000 likes. Over 100,000 retweets and 140,000 likes on clear and blatant disinformation spread from an account known for spreading disinformation. How insane. What does this quote say? Israel's narrative is falling apart? What is, wait, where was that geo-confirmed thread? Jesus. Wait, does Birdwatch tell you, like, what the notes are on a tweet or something? Okay, anyway. Jesus.
War sucks. Sam, would you be willing to talk your Israel-Hamas war position? Maybe with Pacman, Destiny, or Ethan Klein, or smaller creators like Lonerbox or I'm Really Important? I'm not familiar with those other Lonerbox or I'm Really Important. And I'd, you know, if any of those three, Pacman, Destiny, or Ethan Klein wanted to, I would be happy to.
Also, Norm Finkelstein's available for at least a couple of those guys. I would like to see that, actually.
Yeah, I mean, look, I think there are people who are far more knowledgeable about these things than I. If it would draw attention, if there's a sense that it would draw more attention to these issues, then, you know, to have me do it than Norm Finkelstein, I'm not sure why that would be the case, but certainly they could debate them.
Bro, can somebody link? Hold on. Is that Norm Finkelstein guy actually a fucking lunatic? I thought he was just like a little bit to the left. There was some, I'm not gonna be able to find it. One of the threads on my subreddit had linked a whole bunch of info about him. That this guy like praises like David Irving's like historical writings and everything. With these old clips, can somebody find what post I'm talking about on my subreddit? I saw a little bit of that this morning, but I didn't save it.
I mean, I'd be happy to. But, you know, I don't know if I would do it on this show because, I'm not sure what the point is. But if somebody wants to have me on their show or go to like a third place, yeah.
Yeah, I'm not sure all those guys would want to in the first place, but I would recommend at least one of those guys should get in touch with Norm Finkelstein. I would like to see it.
Yeah, I mean, I think that, like, look, if there was, I'd be happy to debate someone who's not necessarily a commentator on this on some level, give them an opportunity to sort of, to try and justify it. I mean, Israel's actions here, or even to, have a discussion about Zionism, broadly speaking. Because I think, certainly I've been on a...
Yeah, I think with Pac-Man and Ethan, it would be a discussion more than almost a debate.
Yeah, I mean, I've debated Destiny on I think he was he went
Rittenhouse.
He was mad that I was critical of calling Kyle Rittenhouse a killer, even though like Kyle Rittenhouse is a killer. That is not a controversial statement.
Oh my God, me, dude. I'm trying to not let like Tim Pool rewrite my fucking view of Sam Seder. Because he told me a lot of bad shit about him too. Apparently a lot of people have a lot of bad thoughts about Sam. But I don't know if this is true. Maybe it's just people on the right are just ass mad about Sam because he's a decent debater. Is that really his takeaway from our conversation? He just thought I was mad because he said Rittenhouse killed people? Like, who denies that? Obviously he killed people. Why would he summarize our conversation that way? What?
He was mad that I was critical of calling Kyle Rittenhouse a killer, even though like Kyle Rittenhouse is a killer. That is not a controversial statement. When you kill somebody, you're a killer. Now, I didn't say that he murdered anybody.
Can you imagine like having a guest on about the Rittenhouse shooting? Murder.
Because he was not found, that's a legal term, and he was not found to have...
Murder is not just a legal term, it's a moralistic one as well. Murdering is generally the unjustified killing of somebody. You don't believe that Rittenhouse was justified in killing those people, you would call him a murderer. Maybe he didn't use the word murder or not, but like, what a weird semantic point to argue on. Obviously, our disagreement wasn't on whether or not Rittenhouse was a killer or not. It had to do with whether or not, he was justified in his actions, or whether we thought it was self-defense.
Committed murder.
Did he call Rittenhouse a murderer? I'm curious when he has a clip of that. I'm so curious if he did or not. I'm not sure.
It's a killer, and I didn't...
Like, what? Yeah, like, what does Sam think the debate was? I was arguing that they survived? Like, does he think that we debated on, like, I think that the two people that were declared dead by Rittenhouse, I think they're in Argentina somewhere with all the Nazis. I think they got shipped. I think they're not dead. Like, what?
And I found the circumstances in which he killed to be illegitimate.
That's what our discussion was about. Yes. Thank you. I've got the thread. Thank you. That's what our discussion was about, was whether it was legitimate or not.
The thing that annoyed me about Destiny, really, honestly, was how he was convinced that if I would have condoned his actions, Kyle Rittenhouse, if he was black, and which I found to be, sort of ill-founded.
You're saying that in the most appropriate way possible as to what Destiny actually
Oh, yeah, well, no, he said I would be very enthusiastically, extremely enthusiastic.
Oh, my God, he's still mad about the buckets of cum.
And frankly, a lot of his audience are, sort of like...
Illiterate.
Pubescent boys, and I was a pubescent boy, and I would have found that to be a good argument in the way that he phrased it. When you get to be a grown up, you realize like the idea that I would support someone who goes on a killing rampage to protect property.
He didn't go on a killing rampage, and it wasn't protecting property; it was self-defense. Right? That was what the case was over. The case wasn't over him shooting somebody to protect property. The case was over shooting somebody in self-defense. That's what the court case was over. Does he even know the details of anything that happened? Not even the details. Does he even know what it was about?
Or let me put it this way, so that it's not crossing any boundaries. The idea that I would be cheerleading somebody who grabbed a weapon to protect property.
Who's cheerleading? Oh, okay. He's being a little bit more careful now.
From protesters, and then was just sort of meandering around enough that he somehow got himself into multiple conflicts where he ended up shooting multiple people to death.
It was one conflict. What do you mean multiple conflicts?
Regardless of what the, how many, whatever the violations these people had done, whatever the moral turpitude of his victims were, which also seems like, I don't know how you balance the idea of like self-defense with, I could divine what bad things they had done in their lives before, and that's why I had to kill them. But nevertheless, the idea that I would, that my assessment of that situation would turn on the color of one's skin, and that's the only context in which I would judge these things from, was spurious in and of itself. Yep. The idea that I would express this by imbibing significant amounts of someone's sexual releases.
Okay. I don't think I have any desire to talk to Sam Seder or anything. Okay. I'm good. Hey, what's up? How you doing?
I'm doing well. I wanted to know if now would be a good question, or now would be a good time to ask you a question about your statement about Hassan being a terrorist.
Yeah, I think he supports like a ton of like fucking terrorist rhetoric. I think that the way that he talks positively about the Houthis shooting down fucking drones from the United States, I think the way that he gives like basically implicit or explicit cover to like more radical elements of Palestinians or people that are anti-Israeli because he says that Israeli people deserve it, the way that he supported on that podcast or brought up on the H3H3 show in relation to the Deprogram podcast, the concept of settler children. Yeah, I think that is wild. I think that is insane. I think that if it was about any other type of minority group or whatever, I think it would have been super perma kicked off of every place on the internet. It would have been unreal.
Yeah, that's probably true. Do you think so? My question primarily pertains to the term terrorist in this context. Have you received a lot of backlash for that statement? Because when you invoke the term that Hassan is a terrorist, I feel like what you're describing primarily is stochastic terrorism, right?
Oh, yeah, but nobody knows what stochastic terrorism is.
Yeah, so like I'm wondering, do people agree with you, or they're like, he's not bombing a school, so like
I'm pretty sure when we use
mean?
terrorists on the internet, I think we're generally just speaking about people that support like terrorist activities. I don't think anybody even knows what stochastic terrorism is, but
And you haven't like even the people like the people on LSF or whatever, they're like, oh yeah, he's a terrorist because he supports these things. They're on board with that. Because I think at one point, because for some godforsaken reason, Darius will leave your stream on full blast on his goddamn speakers. So I'm sitting there inside of my fucking bed and I can hear you talking at 2 PM. I thought I heard you say something about LSF like cracking down or something.
wait, what are we talking about right now? I feel like we just mixed two topics. LSF crackdown.
little
Are you
bit,
talking
a
about
little
like
bit.
earlier today?
Yeah, earlier today I think we were talking
because
something
LSF
about-
wants to apparently ban me and Hassan because we've gotten too many threads in the past few days for 2 weeks.
too many threads.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I found that to be weird, but okay. Yeah, I was just wondering because of that. So you've had a positive response relatively from like the general community about your statement, or
I don't know. I didn't make just one
response to it?
statement. It was like a whole fucking like speech of like I don't like the fact that he supports like extremist elements across the world as long as they're killing or attacking Israel. I don't think I just made like a 10-second statement like Hassan is a terrorist. Like,
Well, yeah, but I think that don't you think that probably a majority of people only heard you say that he's a terrorist?
maybe I have no idea. I don't know. Maybe.
I'd be willing to bet. I don't know.
Oh well.
I was just curious.
fight
if
with me
you
about it if they
had-
want then, but.
Yeah, I was just curious if you had seen any positive or negative returns as a result of your statement. I just wanted to know where the general consensus is at with the idea that somebody who does support those things is a terrorist or not. Like, yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, if you want to be like super technical, you would call it like a stochastic terrorist, I guess. But I don't think anybody even knows what that term means anymore. So
I don't think they do.
Harder hitting terrorist one, you know.
Yeah, I was genuinely of the mind when I saw that. I was like, oh, he's probably going to receive some backlash because people are going to say, like, he hasn't done any, like, crazy, like, bombings or hasn't struck anybody, and that's probably why they're going to be like, he's not a terrorist. But maybe they have a little bit more nuanced of an understanding that includes stochastic terrorism without actually knowing what it is. So, I don't know. Who knows? We'll see. Whatever happened, I think there was at one point there was a campaign to get you banned on YouTube a little bit.
Just random Hassan mods because they're really mad about Ethan and Hassan's fault, and they all blame me for it. So
Were they actually mods of Hassan?
I believe that, or not a mod. I think it was an editor for Hassan. Sorry.
Okay.
I think they had that in their Twitter description, right? Unless that was all fake news. The comrade Lamb or something. I forgot the fucking person's name, but.
Oh, that person. Okay. Well, I guess that's okay with him. I don't know. That shit's weird to me. How that works, but I was just curious about that terrorist comment and whether or not you still believe that he is a terrorist. I'm assuming you do.
Well, he's probably not actually a terrorist. Probably like a terrorist sympathizer or terrorist supporter, I guess is what you would say.
Okay. All right. Well, I was just curious about that and whether or not you received backlash. That's all.
I love you. Be
Have a
good
good
one.
one. Wait. One more thing. Actually, I just realized because when I was tuning into this, is Sam Seder still talking about Kyle Rittenhouse?
Well, he brought up the last debate that we had on it, but his like summary of all of it was like so unbelievably stupid that I don't think I have much of a desire to engage with him. And his community is like one of the most cancerous and worst on the internet as well. So I don't know if it's worth it.
I didn't even. I don't know. Maybe I must be the only one. I thought Sam Seder had a more reasonable take on Rittenhouse. But do I just have like amnesia? Did I forget?
No, I'm pretty sure his take was about as unhinged as the rest. I think the most reasonable thing he said was originally that he wouldn't comment on it much because he doesn't watch court cases because he doesn't have an interest in that. But yeah, obviously he thinks that it was just he thinks he was totally unjustified in going to that city and he was walking around like an idiot with a gun and inviting violence, basically. Yeah.
Oh. Well, I guess I had an interpretation that wasn't the case. That's what shocked me a lot, is hearing him say those things. That sucks. All right. Much love. You have a good rest of your day.
I love you. Be careful, babe.
Bye.
Random question: does the timeline of the Nakba matter if it's almost undeniable that the brunt of the Nakba would not have happened had the partition been accepted? Maybe. I mean, but some people don't believe that, right? Destiny, what do you think of Miskiff's take about LSF and its standing in the current online landscape? He basically said LSF's time in the sun has been dead for a while now since people got their LSF fix from news aggregators like Dexterito on Twitter. I feel like I don't know how to say this without just like jerking myself off. I feel like most people on the internet are way too insulated, are way too cliquey, and are too reticent, or no, I keep mixing up reticent, reluctant, are too reluctant to bring in new blood. Like, I feel like everybody's scared of introducing new people on stream or bringing smaller people on stream because they just like, they don't want to like lose their fans to them. So it feels like there's never any new blood or new interest or new streamers that are brought up anywhere because nobody wants to do anything. That's what it feels like. People are insecure about losing viewers or donators or whatever. So